Would I be wrong if I skip my sister's wedding? I, 23 male, am one of 7 kids. There's Lydia, 31 female, Josh, 28 male, Leo, 25 male, me, then Aaron, 21 female, Nadia, 18 female, and the surprise child, Lexi, 4 female. With that many siblings, it's easy to get lost in a crowd. Some of us have our positions, so to speak. Lydia's the oldest, Lexi's the baby, and I have a kid. Aaron is the golden child. She was the last planned child, the one supposed to tie up our family. She was born premature, so I understand that my parents coddled her to an extent, but it's more than that now. Aaron is getting married and recently told us that she's brought the date forward due to a cancellation. No big deal. It means they're getting married sooner, but the new date lands on the date of Nadia's high school graduation. Aaron was sympathetic, but she said she was already committed to the date. They've printed the invitations. My parents normally go overboard on our high school graduations, but they said they just have to miss Nadia's. We were all sympathetic, but it wasn't intentional. Or so we thought. But Nadia later told me and Leo that she was there when Aaron got the call about the cancellation and told Aaron that she was graduating that day. But Aaron just laughed and accepted the date anyways. This, as much as I hate to admit it, sounds very much like an Aaron thing to do. She booked her engagement party the night of Nadia's 18th birthday. Luckily, she wasn't celebrating until the weekend. She announced her engagement at my older sister's wedding anniversary. Everything is about her. I confronted Aaron about this, and she said that Nadia's high school graduation didn't matter. She wanted to get married to the love of her life sooner, and our family had been to plenty of high school graduations at this point anyway. She said something like, "We still have Lexi." But here's what gets me the most. Nadia's been looking forward to this for so long. She's watched all of us graduate and have these huge celebrations thrown by her parents. I asked Nadia what she wanted, and she said she wanted to have her day. So I told my family that me and Nadia won't be attending the wedding. Leo has also dropped out. Everyone's angry. Aaron is furious. And I didn't make it better by telling her that I could watch our other siblings get married, since it's all the same in her eyes. Mom's trying to convince me to come to the wedding because a graduation isn't as important. But I feel like if I do this, then there sets a precedent in Nadia's life that she's always going to mean less than Aaron. I've had messages calling me a jerk and an idiot, but they're telling me to step up and be a good brother. But that's what I'm doing. My son is supposed to be the ring bearer, but now, with how my family is reacting, I'm considering pulling him out of the wedding too. My dad's told Nadia that he'll take her to dinner after the wedding. Nadia is currently staying with me because my mom won't stop cornering her.
Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding dress after she ruined mine? Hey Reddit, longtime lurker, first time poster. This situation has been eating me up, and I'd really appreciate some outsider perspectives. So my 28 female, sister, 26 female, and I have had our ups and downs, as most siblings do. However, we've been really close the past few years, and I was so excited to have her as my maid of honor for my wedding last year. Flashback to my wedding day. I had this beautiful dress that I spent a fortune on. After the ceremony and during the reception, I noticed some red wine had been spilled on the bottom of my dress. I was devastated. I later found out from a bridesmaid that my sister had accidentally knocked over her wine glass when she was trying to take a funny photo. She didn't come forward about it and didn't even apologize when I confronted her. Fast forward to now. My sister is getting married and she's fallen in love with a dress that's way out of her budget. She asked if I'd help her pay for half of it as her wedding gift. I flat out refused. I brought up how she ruined my dress and didn't take responsibility, and I feel like I shouldn't have to contribute towards hers. Now my family is divided. Half of them think I'm being petty and that I should let go of past grudges. The other half think I'm justified. So, am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding dress after she ruined mine?
Am I the asshole for cutting off my jealous mom? When I was going through puberty, my mom started comparing my body to hers. She would say things like, "You know what, it's okay that you're not developing as quickly as I did." Or that her boobs were already much bigger than mine were when I was 14. Here's a little backstory on my family. My mom has always been extremely dramatic and I think toxic. But I feel bad calling her toxic. On the other hand, I have a great relationship with my dad. And my 2 siblings are both guys, so they don't have the same experience I did with my mom. My dad always acted as a buffer between me and my mom, even though my mom was the one that was starting all the fights. When I got into high school, I realized how attractive I was. Honestly, I had no clue that I was even a pretty girl. Looking back now, I realized that my mom really did make me feel like I was less than. When I started getting attention from boys in high school, I was really happy. I finally felt like I was seen. And because my mom wasn't there, I was able to thrive. Whereas in my house, I would even dress down in front of my mom just so that she wouldn't get jealous of me. The first time I brought a boy over to our house, my mom totally flipped out. She said that I was acting like an SLUT, but really, this boy was only a friend. My dad, thank God, told her that she needed to relax and that I was allowed to have friends. Eventually, I started dating a boy behind my mom's back. I did tell my dad though. My dad was actually happy for me. This boyfriend was like my best friend. I could tell him everything and he always responded really positively and gave me really good advice about my mom. But one day, one of my brothers let it slip that I had a boyfriend. My mom punished me for an entire month. My dad tried to intervene, but my mom went crazy. Here's the thing. She made me break up with him and then I caught her flirting with him. Part 2 is am I the asshole for cutting off my jealous mom? When I caught her flirting with my now ex, who she made me break up with, I pretended like I didn't hear her. But she was flirting with him. She told him that he had really good muscles and that he looked a lot older than he was. Thank God, my ex didn't respond and went home. Afterwards, I confronted my mom and told her that I overheard the conversation. She told me that I was being a snob. I didn't talk to her for about 3 days. On the third day, she came crying to my room. She wanted us to make up. So she decided to take me shopping at the mall. Being the toxic person that she is, she managed to make everything about her. Tried on a bunch of clothes, which actually did look really good on her. Oh, by the way, my mom was a model back in the 90s, so she's kind of stuck in that mindset. She thinks she's the most beautiful person. She thinks she's the best. Anyway, when it was my turn to try on some clothes, she said that I looked a little too tubby, that I should maybe lose a few pounds. I told her that she hurt my feelings and she instantly apologized. Our relationship kept going like this up until I was 18. When I finally moved away for college, I was the happiest I'd ever been. Being away from my mom was like a breath of fresh air. But of course, it never stopped. My mom decided to come visit me to college and I knew that I needed to be prepared for that. When she came over to my dorm, I made sure it was super clean. Also, my grades were super good and I basically had a few friends but no boyfriend. When she came over to my apartment, she was like, "Oh, it's so simple." I was like, "What do you mean?" She said that I needed to decorate and show my personality more. She stayed with me for a total of 3 days and the whole time I was grinding my teeth. When she finally left, I was happy again. Then my dad came to visit. Hanging out with my dad was the best. He took me shopping for my apartment and made me feel so at home. My mom got jealous. Part 3 is am I the asshole for cutting off my jealous mom? Disclaimers are on my Storytime instead of me on Instagram. Then she somehow managed to get jealous that my dad and I were getting along super well. She called my dad while my dad was visiting me and threw a tantrum about how she needed him to go home. So my dad cut his trip short just to go be with my insecure mother. After that, I really didn't speak to my mom for about 2 months. I couldn't believe that she always managed to make me feel less than. And somehow she always made everything about her. I reached out to my brothers and asked them if they ever felt the same about my mom, and they said no. My mom was totally different with them. She took care of them and doted on them. Probably because they're boys and not me, because I'm a girl. One day I decided to call my grandmother and I told her everything. That's when my grandma told me that my mom has always been that way and that I just shouldn't take it personally. Apparently when my mom was growing up, she did not have any girlfriends. She always liked staying away from other women to not have any competition. But I told my grandma that she's my mom and that she shouldn't see me as competition. Grandma suspects that something is wrong with my mom, so, I don't know if she's bipolar or something, but obviously I can't diagnose her. Thankfully, I have other women in my life, my grandma and 2 of my aunts. They act like my mom's more than my own mother. When I graduated college, I was actually engaged. My fiance and I bought a house and we started planning our wedding. And of course, my mom wanted to help me plan it. I really didn't want this, but I decided to give her a chance. But once again, she managed to make everything about her. The entire time, she criticized my choices, even my wedding dress, which I absolutely loved, and it really did look good on me. She told me I needed to wear something more flattering. And then she ended up wearing my wedding dress in a different color. After the wedding, I decided to tell my dad and my brothers that I was going to cut my mom off. My dad begged me not to, but I still went ahead and did it. I called my mom and told her that I needed some time apart from her and that I did not want her calling me. Of course, she pretended like she had never done anything wrong in my life and that she's only been the perfect dedicated mother that she wishes she could be. Instead of arguing with her, I told her to just give me some space. She agreed to it and I haven't spoken to her in about 3 months. My dad and grandma keep begging me to talk to her. I don't think my mom is sad at all. She's always posting to her Instagram. She goes to Pilates, brunch with her friends, and travels with my dad. I think she's probably fine. But what should I do?
This is why you should always change your locks. In 2017, a college girl woke up from a nightmare drenched in sweat and decided to rinse off before going back to sleep. She propped her phone on a shelf, turned on some music, and then hopped in the shower. A few minutes later, she reaches for her phone to change the song, but stops suddenly. Reflected on her phone's screen was a person standing in the middle of her bathroom facing the shower. She somehow kept her composure, turned the water to scalding hot, and then ripped open the curtain and sprayed the intruder in the face. As they howled in pain, she ran past them to her kitchen to get her butcher's knife. In a panic, she can't find her knife, so she just runs out of the apartment and calls the police. The police go in and come out with a crazy-looking woman in handcuffs. One of the officers comes over to the girl and says she used to live here and she had copies of your keys. Then he pauses and looks down and brings up a clear evidence bag that contained her butcher's knife, and he says, "Looks like she wanted her apartment back."
Am I the asshole for withdrawing my letter of recommendation for a student who turned out to be racist? This is not my story. I had written this letter of recommendation to someone who was applying to my alma mater medical school. By coincidence, I had a conversation with him. I was shocked to see him outside of the classroom. He made remarks about only wanting to be in the medicine to serve his group of people. I told him this goes against the oath you take when you enter medical school, which implies that you serve everyone equally. He said he doesn't care about the oath and it is worthless. He also made problematic remarks about refusing to treat inmates. I told him that this is not an option as he will be in a position to treat incarcerated people while in training, and he cannot refuse to do that because he would be violating medical ethics. He proceeded to mock medical ethics, and I told him if he is not willing to take the oath and he's not willing to treat everyone regardless of who they are and what they did, then he is not in the mindset to be a doctor. He flipped, and he started accusing me of being a horrible human. We belong to the same religion, so he started accusing me of being unfaithful to my religion if I'm not willing to put my people first and before everyone. I got so angry, I immediately emailed my medical school saying that I revoke my support for this applicant. Because when I was talking to him, he made concerning racist and discriminatory remarks. I know my school will take my word for it. I also have screenshots in place, and I know very well that he has zero chance with my school now after my email. It makes me feel uneasy that I destroyed this person's chances. But at the same time, I would feel horrible if he gets into medical school knowing that he comes with hate towards everyone and especially vulnerable populations. So am I the asshole for doing that? I was thinking of emailing the Association of American Medical Colleges, who handles the applications to all medical schools, to withdraw my letter from everywhere. I'm debating whether should I or should I not do that. Please let me know. I feel like the big asshole here.
Am I the asshole for turning around and going back to my parents with my baby when I got home because my husband let his homeless brother move in and everyone had lice?
Oh, God.
I recently went to see my parents with my newborn. It was just for the long weekend, so my husband stayed home with our 3 other children, 7, 5, 3. My husband called me when I was out of town to let me know his brother needed a place to crash. I said that he should give him a ride to a shelter or something because it was a bad idea to let his brother in our home. He has stolen from us before. When I got home, there were 5 very itchy people in the house. I immediately got back in my car and went to my parents' house. My husband was calling me the whole time because he needed help dealing with the lice. I didn't call him back until the baby was settled back in at my folks' place. I told him the pharmacy had the shampoo and comb for lice. He said he needed me to come home and take care of it. I noped. I said that he let his brother in our home against my wishes. His brother gave them all lice. I also reminded him that when our oldest got lice from kindergarten, he didn't help me at all. I hate lice. They freak me out. I dealt with it because I had to. This time, it's on him. He said that he would have to use up his sick days to take care of this. I said, tough shit. He did it. He took his brother to a shelter. He deliced himself and the kids, and then he spent 3 days cleaning all the bedding and the furniture. He called me every day begging for help. I did not come home until his mother confirmed that everything was done. He is pissed that I stuck him with all of that by himself. I know I should have helped, but it was too much. I'm still not 100% from having the baby. It was just too much. Am I the asshole?
Interesting.
I mean, she just had a baby.
Newborn.
I don't necessarily think she's the arsehole, but I can understand why she may have had some arsehole tendencies in that situation. I'm in agreement with her, I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'm like 80% in agreement with her. You lost me on the 3 days.
Yeah, that spun
If I'm
me.
taking care of it, he's in the shelter, I've deloused everyone, I'm doing this, and it's taking me 3 days, and I haven't seen my newborn baby.
Yeah.
I would be a bit like, babe.
Yeah, this is an arsehole. I get it. Yeah. It's an arsehole move, but I can also understand why she did what she did.
You just keep saying 3 days, and now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why did it take him so long?
Yeah, fuck knows why it took him so long.
That's a long time.
Like, you just throw the stuffed animals in a bag, wash the stuff in
I'm
hot
not
water.
Sure. I'm not sure.
Why did it take him so long?
Yeah, I have no idea. He must have got
flustered with everything. Flustered.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Or he didn't start until day 2 because he assumed she would come home and take care of it.
Ooh,
Maybe.
You're playing 3D chess now.
Yeah, maybe.
Wow, okay. Maybe.
They thought she'd cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She'd cave.
Yeah.
Fucked around and found out.
Yeah, that one, yeah. If that is the case, then yeah, he did fuck around and find out.
Am I the asshole for kicking my daughter out of my house for being pregnant? I, 45 female, have a 27-year-old daughter. She has 6 kids between the ages of 10 years and 11 months. There are 3 different fathers, and she received child support from 2 of them. She is still with the 3rd one, and they have been together for 5 years. My daughter works part-time, and her fiancé is a chef full-time. They have lived with us for the past year and a half due to getting evicted from their last home. The kids and them have the upstairs bedrooms. There's 2, but that's still crowded for 6 children. They are constantly asking me for help with phone bills. My husband and I have asked for no rent so they'd be able to save up money to get a home, which I do not believe they were doing. I have put up with loud voices throughout all hours and waking up at different hours to cater to children because I love my grandchildren. I never complain to my daughter because I believe family is very important. It's just that my children are all grown up. My youngest moved out 4 years ago, and my husband and I have hopes to remodel. We didn't expect them to be living here this long. Christmas Eve, my daughter gathered us all around and announced that they were pregnant with baby number 7. Everyone was all excited, but I felt dread. That would mean another child in our house, with not much room. I looked over at my husband and could tell he felt the same. We discussed later and decided we were going to have a talk with them and ask them to move out. Last night at dinner, I brought it up to my daughter and her boyfriend, and we told them they have 2 months to find a place because we cannot have another child here. My daughter started crying, saying that she couldn't believe I'd throw her to the streets for having a baby, that this was completely unfair and not enough time. I told her I was sorry. It was painful for me as well, but these living conditions were impossible. She demanded I give her more time or she'd go to the courts, and I told her newsflash, the courts only give you 30 days. She then said my grandchildren were going to be homeless because I was selfish. She made a Facebook post asking for rooms for rent because she's pregnant and has nowhere to go, and her family doesn't give a shit about her. So am I the asshole?
I wrote a note to my valedictorian that made her leave school with no consequences. When I was in high school, there was a girl at the top of our class. We'll call her Mai. Mai was known for being very quiet and timid, anxious and antisocial. She had long, bushy hair that reached pretty much her backside, and she always brought a messy stack of books and papers to each class, despite not needing them for anything. Everyone felt bad for her. She was seemingly incredibly intelligent, but crippled by anxiety. But one day, in a class we shared, I realized she was writing answers for a test on the desk and covering them with her hair. If you write on a desk in pencil, it can be easily wiped away with your hand. And that's exactly what she did after the exam. She was a cheater. I talked to another kid in our class, James, and he said, "Oh yeah, Mai always cheats. Every one of the students pretty much know that." She would apparently even write answers on the strewn paper in her desk pile. Nobody wanted to get someone like Mai in trouble, but frankly, as someone just outside the top 5 of my class, it made me livid that Mai could just cheat blatantly with everyone letting it slide, all the way into the valedictorian position. That makes a major difference for scholarships and everything, and we came from a pretty poor area. She was also an officer in the National Honor Society, and while I know that means nothing now, at the time I thought, wow, she has no honor. This is ridiculous. One day in math class, me and my friend Kevin shared with Mai that we had a substitute teacher who didn't really care how we spent the class period. So I wrote in a careful, bubbly print that was nothing like my typical handwriting a note to Mai, basically saying, "Hey, everyone knows you cheat, and if you don't knock it off, we'll be forced to tell the National Honor Society what you did." I don't think I really would have done anything with the note. Of course, the fact that I wrote it in different handwriting says differently, but Kevin was joking that he would give the note to Mai, and I was joking back. But to my shock, he did give it to Mai, but sneakily put it to the side of her messy desk. She noticed it eventually and must have read it. We had lunch next, and Mai was sobbing, literally losing it at her lunch table. The friends she sat with all encouraged her to go to the office about whatever happened, and she eventually did. I started to freak out because I never thought she'd react like that, and I was someone who never got in trouble. My mother would kill me if I did, so I was terrified of getting called up. I just wanted Mai to stop cheating. Towards the end of my next class, it happened. My science teacher said I was called to the office, and I felt my soul leave my body. I went up and walked into the principal's office. Imagine my shock when he wanted to talk about something completely different. He heard from my ex's new girlfriend that I was going to beat her up, which was wildly untrue. We both laughed about it, and he said he didn't think that was true but had to check. Then he just asked casually, Before you go, do you have any idea what happened in your math class earlier? I simply said no idea and tried to be convincing. He said okay, and I walked back to class. Later that day, I realized some of Mai's lunch table group seemed angry with me. Mai had gone home early, but her friends seemed ready to fight me based on the looks I was being given. I was so anxious that they knew I had written the note. At the very end of the day, I walked into the office and asked the vice principal if I could speak with the principal. He said the principal had already left for the day. I straight up said, I wrote the note to Mai. It was me. I lied to the principal earlier. My VP just said, okay, I'll tell him tomorrow. And that was the last I ever heard of the situation. I never got into trouble. Mai never returned to regular classes. She was removed from the school's ranking, although I recall her attending graduation and getting a diploma. Her mother was a teacher in our school system, so maybe that had something to do with it. Who knows? I graduated within the top 5, and it absolutely helped me get better scholarships.
I secretly hate my husband, but I can't leave him. Disclaimer is not my story time listed on Instagram. My husband and I have only been married for 2 months. We dated on and off for almost 7 years. So when he finally proposed, I was actually really happy. The problem is that we never lived together before we got married. He never wanted to move in with me when we were dating. He also had this thing where he wouldn't want me to come to his apartment randomly. He would always schedule times where I could hang out with him at his apartment. This all seems suspicious, but I really wanted to marry him, so I just decided to overlook those things. But now that we're married, I see why he didn't want me to come over and why he had all these strange rules. It turns out that he's incredibly messy, lazy, and is super picky about the food he eats. So now that I'm his wife, I'm constantly having to clean up after him. Every single time he goes to the toilet, he always leaves skid marks, or for some reason, he always has like explosive poop and it goes everywhere on the bowl. So every single time I go to the bathroom after he does, I'm always having to clean it up. And it makes me so angry that I have to clean up after him that I have begun to hate him. Also, he's super picky about his food. We can never go to restaurants because he never wants anything on the menu. And if we ever do go to a restaurant, we have to go wherever he wants. I love all types of cuisine, especially Indian, Mediterranean, Japanese, but he thinks it's gross. He comes from a very American family. He grew up eating chicken nuggets and grilled cheeses. To him, anything with some spice is way too much. That means I can't cook what I want because he always complains about the smell. Thankfully, he's got an office that's 30 minutes away. So when he leaves, that's when I cook. But I have to make sure to air out the apartment before he gets home. I'm always doing his laundry and cleaning up after him. Every single time he shaves, he leaves hair everywhere. I actually hate this man now. I told him that I don't want to live with him anymore, but he freaked out. He's begging for me to stay, but I'm so unhappy. What should I do?
My friends had while I was sleeping in the same bed. I can't talk with anybody about this, so I guess I'm just trying to rant here on Reddit about this. This happened 2 days ago, so it's still fresh, and I don't know how to process this. I'm just gonna use some random names, because I don't ever want them to find out I wrote this. My best friend Alex and another good friend Paul were on call around 5 p.m. on Easter Monday. They were planning for a trip to the Netherlands in the summer, where we're going to visit a good online friend together. I was pretty hyperactive and full of adrenaline that day, so I decided to go on a walk while still being on the call. After a while, we spontaneously decided to have a sleepover at Paul's, so I packed my things and arrived at like 6 p.m. We were having fun the rest of the evening. We played cards, listened to music, and talked a lot. At around 12 p.m., we decided to go to bed. We were sleeping in one bed. You must know my friends are very cuddly. I would have joined the cuddling, but I can't sleep without my free space, essentially, because it was hot, sweaty, and skunky in this room. No wonder, considering we were 3 people on a warm spring day in a pretty tiny room. So not long after we all went quiet, I felt how the mattress was moving in a pretty regular rhythm. For the picture, I was lying on the wall side, Alex in the middle, and Paul at the edge of the bed. I was already suspicious, but at first I just ignored it and didn't think much of it. But after a while, Alex started heavy breathing. My virgin ass started panicking. In the evening, before we were talking about our sleeping habits, I told them purposefully how I'm not tired at all and how I will have trouble falling asleep that night. I did know before the sleepover that Alex and Paul are sleeping with each other, but I didn't think they were going to do it when I am laying next to them. I mean, I joked about it before, but I always make it clear that it stays a joke because I will never hook up with close friends. Anyways, they continued doing that next to me. I heard every move loud and clear because I was 2 centimeters away from them. I didn't know what to do because I felt uncomfortable as fuck and I didn't want to just go, quote, hey, can you please stop? I'm awake. So I pretended to wake up from a bad dream. I cried and shivered in panic. Props to my acting skills. And my friend stopped immediately to check on me. That was cute of them, though.
What? No, it's not.
They asked what was wrong and acted all innocent, and they didn't just almost next to me. Paul probably felt bad and decided to sleep on his gaming chair, while Alex and me slept on his bed. Alex gave me a sleeping pill since I told them I couldn't sleep. We talked a little, and at like 2:30, we went quiet again. Like half an hour passed by, and while I was waiting for the sleeping pill to kick in, Paul got into bed again. After a while, they started doing it again.
What the heck? Then I get mad.
At this point, I just accepted my fate. I stole the blanket and tried to sleep. The sleeping pill made me nauseous and thirsty as fuck. Alex and Paul did it through the night, all over again, and my perception of time was so distorted. I can't tell if I even slept for 1 minute. In the morning, they acted all innocent and wished me a good morning, asked me how I slept and all that. We had breakfast together, acting like nothing happened. Alex needed to head out quickly because they had a school-related meetup. I didn't want to stay any longer and pissed off right after Alex did.
What the?
No.
Am I the asshole for telling my dad's daughters the same thing they told me years ago? This is an anonymous story time and it was sent to my email. I currently live in the US and I am also an illegal here. During this time, I was only 20 years old. Growing up, my father always physically abused us, and he cheated on my mom multiple times and ended up having 4 other families. My mother happened to be his second wife. I wouldn't see my father, and when I would see him, he would physically abuse us, mentally and physically. But I'm not gonna lie, I always loved my old man. He was not perfect at all, but every time he spoke to me and took care of me, I felt protected and like his little girl. Let's just say I am the youngest one. My older siblings always had a history of fighting with each other. They all had partners who would cheat on them. A few of them were so grimy. Some of them didn't like me and they didn't like each other as well. And the list goes on. When I was 18 years old, I ended up graduating high school, and it was almost impossible to find a job. My other siblings helped me here and there. My mother started getting sick and I was the only one who was there for her. I would prepare her medicines, take her to appointments, give her massages when she needed to. During this time, it was extremely hard. My father was nowhere to be around. It was so hard to get a hold of him, and he ended up having other daughters. There was rumors going around that those kids weren't actually his. I never paid attention to that drama because it wasn't my business. And I know if I ever commented on it, my father would physically abuse me. Like I said, me and my poor mother were struggling. I was getting extremely frustrated because there was nothing to eat. I couldn't find a job. My older siblings were as well nowhere to be around. There was no aid and none of the bills were paid. We didn't qualify for no EBT, and I kept blowing up my dad's phone. I ended up telling my father that we need money if he can help us out. My mother is sick and we don't have any money for the bills. A couple days later, I got a message request on Facebook.
Am I the asshole for refusing to do my mother-in-law's makeup for an event after she said she wouldn't pay me? A little bit of background information. My mother-in-law is a hairstylist, which means she is a certified cosmetologist. I do makeup and I've never been professionally certified. However, it has been my job for over 6 years now. Every time there's a special event or something going on in the family, she always asks me if I'll help her do her makeup, and in exchange she'll do my hair. However, the last couple of times that we have had this sort of arrangement, it seems like she rushes through my hair and ends up making it look worse than it did before. A couple of weeks ago, she called me and asked me if I could do her makeup for a special event at her salon coming up the next day. For any other client, I need at least 3 days notice. But of course, for my mother-in-law, I was willing to make an exception. I wasn't going to be going to the event, so there was no need for her to style my hair, and that's why I assumed that she would pay me for my services like a regular client would. Of course, I intended on giving her a discount. However, Monday through Friday is still my work week, and I could be making real money with real clients if she hadn't asked for my time. As per my normal client policy, I asked for payment in advance to doing the makeup. But whenever I brought this up to her, she immediately gave me this look like, who the hell do you think you are? She started going off on me about how she always does my hair and never charges me a thing. And that's when I explained to her how I felt about the time she had done my hair in the past, and that every time that had happened, I had also done her makeup for free. This ended up snowballing into a screaming match with her telling me things like, "You're not good enough for my son. I wish he had married someone better than you." And after a couple of minutes, I just packed up my things and left. She started calling my husband, telling him that I refused to do her makeup and was trying to ruin her event on purpose. And she even told him that I was cussing at her and telling her to get out of my face, which clearly did not happen. If anything, it was closer to the opposite. When I got home that night, my husband said we needed to sit down and have a talk about what happened with his mom. I tried explaining to him what actually happened, but he told me regardless, I still needed to be the bigger person and apologize to her and offer to do her makeup again. I told him that I had no problem apologizing for how things went down earlier that day, but that in the future I would be expecting some form of payment if she ever wanted me to do her makeup again. He told me that wasn't fair, and he even got my sister-in-law involved. Now it's awkward every single time we see his family, and I really don't know what to do.